Back in the early 2000s, deep in the Appalachian woods, we pulled a night patrol on a ridge the locals called Witchback. Fog, thick as smoke. Air heavy, dead quiet. Halfway through, the dog froze. Then the radio cracked with a voice that had no reason to be out there. That's when we knew we weren't alone. And what came next was worse than anything the Army ever prepared us for. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. We were the night shift, nobody's on a quiet ridge folks in Witchback. Old ridgeline, scar of a logging road along the top, pines packed so tight the dark had weight. Locals whispered about haints and witches. We laughed because soldiers laugh when we are scared of nothing yet. That was before. Our mission? Nothing fancy. Routine sweep. Walk the sensors, log the numbers, make sure no tweakers cut copper from the boxes. We had trucks down at the trailhead. Past that, just boots, rucks, radios, and the air thick as a wet blanket. Fog rolled in before sunset and never left. It was me, Jackson, and Martinez, plus Rocco, the shepherd. Rocco was the smartest one. Jackson was farm quiet, built like an oak fence post, good with his hands and better with silence. Martinez made jokes even when nobody asked. He handled the dog like it was a dance. I was the new guy and talked too much when it got dark, just to hear a human voice. That's the truth of it. Top gave us the brief in that bored tone that says he had done this 100 times and never liked it once. Do the loop. Log every station. No hero moves. The county has had trespassers. If you see people, be polite. If you see bears, be smarter than bears. Check in at the half. The lieutenant was a butter bar with a clean map and clean boots. He pointed at our route like pointing made the trees less real. We stepped off at last light. The fog took the last of the color out of the world. Night vision flickered at the edges like it was already tired. The ridge ran east to west, and the old road walked it like a backbone. To the north, the slope dropped into a cut full of hemlock. To the south, the stream ran somewhere down there. But you never saw it, you just heard it when the wind died. We started with the usual chatter. Chow was trash. Pay was late. Someone's knee hurt on the uphill. A story about a girl from back home and how you never should have left that girl because you were an idiot and the Army doesn't hug you when you sleep. Rocco trotted point, tail up, nose tasting every breath. First station on the loop was a metal box on a post with a dumb little solar panel and a battery cheap enough to die in cold weather. I wiped the moisture with a sleeve and read the tiny screen. Numbers looked boring. Boring is gold out here. I logged them. Jackson signed. Martinez told Rocco he was handsome, which was true. We moved on. Boots in mud. Fog drip off pine needles like rain that forgot how to commit. The ridge felt old. Old like it remembered before we came and would remember after. We were small and we were loud and the woods did not care. I didn't say that then. I felt it in the way my shoulders wanted to hunch. Second station. Same. A little squeal from the radio because the hills never loved our gear. Martinez hummed some dumb tune. Jackson kicked a root and never swore because he saved words for things that mattered. I told him the gas station clerk down in the valley had eyes like a crow and said, "Don't let the woods learn your name," like it was a normal thing to say when someone buys jerky and smokes. We laughed. We always laugh at warnings. It keeps the fear small. By the third station, the silence came down. Not quiet. Silence. Like someone threw a blanket over the whole ridge. Like a door closed. No crickets. No owls. Even our footfalls sounded wrong. Sideways. Like they didn't belong to us. Rocco paused and looked back. The whites of his eyes showed. He didn't wag. Wind shifted, I said, because I had to say something. Yeah, Jackson said, because he always gave me enough to keep me steady. We carried on because that's what orders looked like at night. One more step, one more station, one more box with numbers that never tell you what matters. That's when the small things started to stack like pebbles in your boot. The smell came first. It rode the fog and cut the back of my throat. Copper, like licking a penny as a dumb kid. Underneath that, something sweet and wrong. A meat smell that had missed the fridge by a few hot days. No dead deer on the path. No gut piles. Just that stink huffing at us when the wind had no interest in moving. Rocco froze, not a curious pause. A frozen, hard line from nose to tail, ears up, one paw hanging, low rumble. Martinez went still with him. When the dog does that, your body listens before your brain does. "What's up, boy?" Martinez whispered, the kind of whisper that is really just shaped breath. Rocco lifted his muzzle and drew a breath so long, it made me feel like I was inhaling through him. His lips twitched. Then the growl raised a half step, not loud, deep, grounded. Jackson scanned left with his rifle low and ready. I scanned right. The trees were just columns in fog. Every branch looked like a hand if you wanted it to. I heard water drip. Slow. 1, 2, 3, then no more. Even the stream hushed. A twig cracked, not far, not close. The kind of crack that says weight is out there, not squirrel weight, not raccoon weight. I wanted to call it a deer and let the world be normal again. I couldn't see antlers. I couldn't see anything but gray and darker gray. "You smell that?" I asked. "Yeah," Jackson said. "Like pennies," Martinez said. He lifted the radio to his shoulder and clicked it once for attention, because we had tag-up protocol even for nothing. The radio burped static and a little voice of dead batteries. No reply from anyone, just our breaths in our own ears. We moved again because standing still felt like being a nail waiting on a hammer. The trail slid down a little before climbing. Mud tried to hold our boots. The old road was rutted, and the ruts were little rivers, and the rivers were full of the sky because the fog had stolen the stars. There was a stand of rhododendron ahead where the trunks twisted like sleeping snakes. Locals hung glass balls in some trees down in the valley, bright swirls meant to catch witch spirits. Up here, the only hanging was a bit of old line snagged on a branch, the kind you used to haul a deer or lose a canoe. It swung once when there was no wind. Jackson said, "Haints, my granddad used that word. You believe in that?" I asked. "I believe in keeping my mouth shut when I don't know the rules," he said. Martinez snorted. "Rules are, don't pee into the wind and never tell Top you're bored." Rocco's growl cut him off. The dog's fur went up like he had plugged into a socket. He wasn't looking left or right. He was looking down the slope, into the hemlock shade, into the place where the ridge bent away and you could imagine an old cabin if you wanted to. "Let's move," Jackson said. He didn't raise his voice, but it got under my skin and pulled. We passed the 4th station without jokes. Numbers. Log. Move. I wrote careful because my hand had started to shake, and I didn't want my scribble to be the only thing between us and some later blame. The fog felt close now, close enough to touch the skin like a hand you don't want. I remembered the clerk at the gas station again, the way her fingers kept turning that paper charm by the register. Old, folded into a star, hung with thread. "You keep iron and salt," she'd said. "You don't call to anything. You don't answer when it calls to you. And don't let it learn your name." I had laughed and bought jerky and smokes and a cheap pocket knife with a handle that looked like bone, and maybe was. I don't laugh at that memory now. Up the trail, something moved. Not a leaf. Not wind. A darker, dark stepping back. A deer, I told myself. A big one. Or a tree I hadn't noticed. Or nothing at all, which is worse than something. "Eyes on," Martinez said, soft. He didn't point. He didn't have to. We all looked the same direction and saw nothing at the same time. We carried on. Rocco walked tight now, not leading, not lagging. Just pressed into our orbit where the pack feels like home. He bumped my knee once and it felt like a warning. By the time we hit the 5th station, the silence had worn through my patience and into my bones. I kept looking back up the trail. I kept not seeing anything. That takes more energy than seeing something and naming it. It eats you slow. That's how it gets in. That's how the night gets you to agree to things you never knew were on the table. We were not alone. That sentence walked with me the whole time. It matched my steps. It learned my breath. It waited. We made the saddle just before the ridge hump. The old road dropped on both sides there, and you could choose your hell. We held to the plan and cut right, down the shallow grade to a little flat spot folks used back when hauling logs meant horses and curses. The trees open enough to see 5, maybe 6 yards. Then the woods took it all back. That's where I heard my sister. "Eli," she said, soft, just down the slope. Like she had her hands around her mouth and didn't want to scare a deer. "Eli, you there?" Jackson felt me stop and stopped with me. Martinez didn't at first, then the leash pulled his arm and he looked back. I did not answer. It was not easy to not answer. You hear your sister in the dark, and the oldest part of you answers without asking permission. But that clerk's voice rode me now. Don't answer when it calls to you. Don't teach the woods your name. Eli, closer. Same voice, same breath between the syllables. My sister has a tiny whistle when she breathes, and she laughs. I heard that too. She was hundreds of miles away, far down a different road. Safe, I hoped, but here she was, calling from a hemlock throat. Jackson leaned in, mouth close to my ear. Don't, he said. I shook my head hard enough to hurt. I kept my mouth shut so tight my teeth hurt. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to run down the slope into whatever that voice was and make it stop by making the world make sense again. That's the hook it sets. That's why people vanish and the search parties find only 1 boot and a half finished prayer. We moved. Stiff, careful, like the air had become glass you could crack with a step. Eli, said the dark. Now it was behind us, or in the radio, or under my skin. I could not tell. At the 6th station, the ground was soft from a seep spring that never cared what season it was. Mud held prints like it wanted to help. We found them by accident. Martinez nearly put his boot in one. He stopped and lifted his foot, and we all looked down the way you look at a mine after someone says you are standing on it. Bare human foot. Small, maybe a kid. Heel, ball, and bull wheeze. 5 toes. Pressed deep, clean edges. Then another. Same. Then another, and it was wrong. The heel had 2 points. The ball was split. The toes were cloven. Then the next was a deer hoof, clear as any track I'd ever seen, split like a book held open. Then the next was backwards. 2 more like that, as if it was walking forward, but the prints faced home. I swallowed. My mouth felt dry as chalk and tasted like pennies. Nope, I said, because you say dumb things when your brain is trying to spin its wheels up out of a ditch. Rocco made a sound I have only heard from dogs when they dream and when they know something old is near. It was not a whine, not a growl. It was a long, low disapproval. He looked left, then right. Then he stood on tiptoe, the way dogs do when they want to be tall and big, and he showed a lot of teeth. Martinez said nothing. He reached down and his fingers found the little leather pouch on his belt that he joked about earlier. He had salt in it. His grandma was from the kind of hills where people carry salt for reasons they pretend are cooking. He didn't sprinkle any, not yet. But he touched it like a man checks a magazine without pulling it free. We backed off the tracks. I took pictures in case the lieutenant demanded proof later, and in case I wanted to see something I already knew I did not want to see again. The fog tried to eat the prints as we watched. Water crept into the edges and softened what had been sharp. The ridge wanted to keep its secrets. We were not invited to the party. We had crashed it with boots and a radio, and the host had noticed. Night vision flickered at the far edge of my sight. A shape between trees. Taller than a person. Thinner. If a deer decided to stand up, if a person decided to wear a deer and forgot joints, do what joints do. The head cocked. The eyes were white. Not white like human eyes. White like old ash in a fire pit deciding to glow again. It looked. It did not blink. It did not breathe in the ways I knew breath. I blinked. The shape was gone. Or it had decided to be a tree. Or I had failed some test older than the map that sent us here. Tell me you saw that, Martinez said. He was not joking. He sounded like he was waiting on a verdict. I saw it, I said, because lying to yourself is poison, and you don't add poison to your canteen for fun. Yeah, Jackson said. Always plain. Always just enough. We finished the station fast. Fast like careful men, not like cowards. There is a difference. We started talking less. We started listening more. The woods gave nothing back. That was its answer. We hit the halfway mark and checked in with the net like it mattered. Half complete, I said. All stations nominal. The radio gave a hiccup of static and repeated my words back to me 2 breaths later. Not a full echo. Just a smear of my own voice dragged behind me. We all heard it. We all pretended the ridge was doing tricks with the signal. We pushed on. The fog thickened. It ate our beams. Our lights made little bubbles instead of paths. Every shadow had a shadow. The old road cut around a knob and dipped toward the south face. Somewhere down there, the stream kept its head down. We kept ours up. "Checkpoint clear," I said at the 7th station. 2 seconds later, the radio coughed, "Checkpoint clear." In my exact tone, only the last word stretched like someone trying my mouth on for size. Martinez lifted the radio and smacked it with the heel of his hand. It hissed. "Ned is jacked," he said. He didn't sound like he believed in broken gear as the whole story. We walked another 50 paces. The crying started. It was small at first, far away. A child if your brain wanted to put it in a box. A child who had scraped both knees and lost a shoe. It wasn't words. It was sound meant to pull on you. I felt it in my stomach. I felt it in my feet. My feet wanted to go downhill toward the crying. My head did not agree. Somewhere, a raven clicked once. Then even that was done. We moved careful. Martinez kept Rocco tight. The dog did not want to go down the slope. He leaned against Martinez's leg to say so. The crying kept up. It never got closer. It never got farther. It almost had rhythm, like something breathing slow. Around the bend, a shape resolved in the fog. A cabin barely standing. Logs slumped like a tired man. Roof in pieces. A black mouth where a door had been. The crying felt like it came from inside. It was old and recent at once, like an argument your parents had when you were 7 and somehow keep having in your head as a grown man. The doorframe had scratches, fresh. Deep gouges that curled slivers of bright wood at the edges. They circled the frame like something walked around and around and around, dragging claws. Each mark was long and smooth, like a thing with time and patience made them. The ground around the stoop was mud mixed with wet leaves mixed with something dark that the fog made anonymous. Tracks there were confused, like the ground could not decide what story to tell. The smell hit hard now. Copper and rot had a baby with wet dog and old smoke. I tasted bitter in my mouth that felt like fear fermenting. "Do not go in," Jackson said. He did not suggest. He declared. It landed in me like a stake. The radio clicked, then sang our call signs in a child's voice, one after another. Mine last. Hearing my own call sign said that way put a cold finger behind my heart. Then there was a gap. Then it used my sister's voice. She said my name like she wanted to get me out of the tree where I hid when I was small, and she wanted me to come down for dinner. Martinez took the little leather pouch off his belt. He popped it open with one twitch of the thumb. Salt. That cheap kind like dust and diamonds both. He shook a thin line across the threshold. He didn't say a word. He did not offer to explain. I did not ask. "What are we doing?" I whispered, but I knew. "Changing the rules," Martinez said. We circled the cabin. We kept outside the line where the ground said circling had been done by something with time and patience. Every time I thought the crying had faded, it grew again. Every time I thought it moved, it had not. It was an anchor tied to us, not to the cabin. It knew our feet better than our ears. I checked another box because the map said there was one at the back of the clearing. The numbers were fine, the way a dead man can look like he is sleeping when the light is dim. I wrote them down with a hand that shook less than before. The act of writing can be a prayer. The act of logging can be a spell. Even a dumb one can steady you for a breath. We had to pick away from there. Up the ridge and out, or swing lower and connect back after 2 more stations. The plan said lower. The part of me that wears my mother's eyes said up and out. The part of me that lifted when the drill sergeant yelled said, "Follow the plan until the plan tries to kill you." Jackson looked at me. "We do the loop," he said. He would say the same if the map led through a house that looked normal and smelled like bread and had family laughing inside. He trusted the work. He trusted his boots. He did not trust the ridge, and that's exactly why he would not let it rewrite our orders. "Loop," I said. "Loop," Martinez said, though he glanced at the cabin like a man does when he knows he will be back to a place whether he wants to be or not. We cut lower. The crying moved with us. The radio started to repeat things we had not said. It used my voice to order us around. It got the words right. It got the rhythm wrong. My voice does not breathe in the middle of a word. That one did. It learned fast. It did not learn enough. "Copy," the radio said in my voice, then in Jackson's, then in a voice that fit none of us and all of us at once, as if it was wearing a uniform too big and slowly taking it in with pins. We walked. We did not run. You do not run in woods. You do not know with things you cannot name close enough to learn your heel pattern. When we reached the next little dip where the trail pinched between rock and blowdown, I saw movement ahead. A person, moving just at the edge of our lights. Same height as Jackson, same ruck, same rifle hang. He was 3 paces in front of me. He had been beside me a breath ago. My mouth opened. My brain closed it. "Jackson," I said without a question in it. "I'm here," he said at my shoulder. The man ahead stopped without turning. His feet didn't shift. His shadow lagged like it was hung on a nail. Then it caught up in a slow spill. The man turned. His face was Jackson. His eyes were not. They were white. And deep in that white was a hollow little star that had never loved the sun. It smiled. Jackson does not smile like that. It showed teeth like it had never had to chew meat. It cocked its head too far, as if the bones that keep us honest were just recommendations. Rocco lost calm entirely. He hit the leash. He hit the end like a truck hits a pole. Martinez did not let go. The dog's bark was a machine gun in the fog. The thing blinked slow, not with eyelids but with some whole-face motion, like dawning awareness was a trick it had to practice. That was the first time I thought we might not go home. We did not fire. I do not know why I did not. Maybe because the rifle in my hands felt like a tool for a job I could not name. Maybe because somewhere my grandmother, who wasn't from here but believed in things older than maps, whispered, "Do not shoot the wind, because the wind will shoot back." Maybe because, to be honest, I was so surprised by seeing my friend twice that my brain stalled like a bad engine. The mimic took a step. It moved like it had rehearsed walking and forgot to practice stopping. It overswung its hip and then corrected. Its boots made no sound on the wet leaves. That detail hurt me. Boots always speak in the woods, even careful ones. That quiet was a lie with skin on. "Stop," Jackson said. He leveled his rifle, iron sights lined like he'd lined them 10,000 times. "Don't come closer." His voice was flat. He spoke to it like it was a drunk in a parking lot and he was not going to let it touch the car. It smiled bigger. It lifted the radio like a man would, and then its wrist bent too far and too slow and it put the radio to the place on its shoulder where a radio lives, and its fingers were wrong around it and still it worked. "Don't come closer," my voice said from the radio, and then it came closer. I backed toward the cabin without agreeing to it. My feet knew where a door was. Martinez followed because Rocco dragged it, and because Martinez knew when a doorway was the only church you get. Jackson moved backward with us, his rifle never leaving the thing's chest. We crossed a clearing in a handful of breaths. The cabin was a shape with a hole where the door had been. The salt line on the threshold was a thin necklace across its throat. I felt stupid for counting on it. I also felt like a man who will not step on a crack out of respect you can taste but not explain. We went inside. We did not touch the frame. Martinez shook salt out along the inside edge of the threshold. He threw a pinch at each windowsill for good measure. He dug into a pocket and came up with a knife, the small one he joked about at the gas station when he bought it. "Iron," he had said then, clanking it on the counter to make noise. The clerk nodded like a priest. He did not joke now. He put the knife on the floor near the door like a man puts a picture of his daughter on a desk. Rocco stood beside it and bared every tooth. The mimic reached the door. It stopped at the salt like a dog does at an invisible fence after it has learned what pain is. It looked down with that wrong head tilt. It breathed. That was the first time I heard it breathe like a thing needs air. It made a little hiss, and the hiss tried to be a word. It tried to be my name. "Don't," Jackson said. He wasn't talking to it now. He was talking to me, and he was talking to the part of me that wanted to give that thing anything it asked for, so it would stop being wrong for 1 second. The scratches on the door frame had the shine of something new torn from something old. I had not noticed that before. That meant this was not just a place it visited once. This was a place it worked. Like men work a field. Like men work a mine. It had patience. It had routine. The radio cracked. Then it spoke our call signs in order, then out of order, then in the rhythm of that crying, then in the rhythm of nothing I could name. It asked us to check in. It asked us to affirm. It asked us to open the door. It asked us to help. It asked us to step forward. It said our names as if checking attendance. We kept silent. I have never wanted to talk so badly in my life. Martinez tore strips from a rag in his kit and tied them around his wrists. Superstition looks like survival in certain light. He muttered Spanish under his breath, not fancy words, just the small ones we all reach for when we grip the wheel and the road is ice. Rocco listened to the door like it was radio, and radio like it was a thing with teeth, and the thing with teeth like it was God. We had iron, we had salt, we had a cabin that had lost arguments before and still stood. We were not in control. But we had a handful of rules we did not understand and chose to respect anyway. That is the best you can do when you step into someone else's church in the dark. Origins, I whispered, because soldiers love reasons even when reasons don't help. Some things just are, Jackson said, and some places keep them. That's enough. I thought about the ridgeline name, Witchback. I thought about why a road got named that when somebody could have called it Mapletop or Deer Cut or Ridge 4. Names stick because they are earned in the oldest ways. The mimic leaned. It put one toe over the salt, as if to test the charge. It did not flinch. Then it tried to push the air. You could see it press its hands into nothing. That nothing bulged like a soap bubble. Then it held. Then it pushed back. It smiled like it learned something new, and it was proud. Night got deeper, or maybe the night outside stayed the same and the night inside came closer. That's how it felt. The cabin wood groaned the language of old houses. The fog slid in through cracks and hung low. A waist-high river we stood inside. My neck hurt from holding the rifle up. My hands hurt from gripping what would not help. My jaw hurt because fear lives in odd places. It circled the cabin. We heard the steps in the mud. Slow. Stopping at each window. Sniffing, I swear it sniffed. The sound thin and wet. It dragged its nails across the logs. The sound bit. It bit into my back teeth and made them want to jump out. When it spoke, it used us. It used our voices first. Then it used small ones, children we never met. Then it used old ones, men who might have cut trees here and bled in the wrong place. Then it used animals trying to be people. Then it used people trying to be animals. It told jokes with no punchlines because it had learned the rhythms of laughter and not the reasons. At one window it stood a little too long. I could not see it. I felt it. The fog inside the cabin slid that direction like breath pulled. Rocco locked on. He did not bark. He gave that low warning that says I am here, and I am ready, and I am not enough, but I am not moving. Tell me a story, the radio said in my voice. No, Jackson said, and the cabin wood creaked like it disagreed. Open, the radio said in my sister's voice. It was not a question. Not in this life, Martinez said. He spoke to the floor. He was sweating like he had climbed a mountain. His hands shook. He set the little iron knife on top of a coil of paracord like that did anything. Maybe it did. We stayed like that for a long time that was probably 1 hour, and felt like a week you do not finish. Every time my mind drifted, it tried to wander outside. Not my legs, my thoughts. Like fog looking for wind. I dragged them back by counting the nails in the wall and touching the stock of my rifle and tasting salt on my tongue. I put a pinch there and let it burn. You do new things when the old ones lose. The scratching at the door returned. It was not random. It was the same hand, tracing the same lines again and again. It had a pattern now. Circles and lines you could almost read if you were the sort of fool who thinks reading is free. I looked away. I looked down. I looked at my boots because they were simple. The radio went quiet. I liked that for 2 breaths. Then it laughed. My laugh. Then Martinez's. Then the cough Jackson does when he wants to speak and decides not to. I did not know anyone could learn that. It started whispering my name in a way that made me want to give it more of my name. As if your name has layers. The one you give your buddies. The one your mother uses when you have done wrong. The one the priest uses when he lowers the bucket into the well of you. It wanted the third. It worked like waterworks. It wore its stone. I thought of the clerk again. Iron and salt. Don't talk to it. Don't answer. Don't let it learn you. I held my mouth shut. My throat ached. Then the window frame on the east wall flexed. The wood made that long moan trees make in wind. There was no wind. The glass had been gone for years. Something pushed it where glass had been. The salt on the sill hissed. Not loud. Enough. I saw a shadow pull back like a hand burned on a stove. I breathed for the first time in too long, and it felt like coughing inside my chest. "You smell that?" Martinez said. He did not mean copper now. He meant something else. Something like ozone and old graves. "Yeah," I said. "Means it's close," he said. And then he laughed once like a man who has run out of sense and needs to borrow some. As if any of this has meant far. When fear grows too big, it blooms into anger, then into a kind of stupid courage. That is what came into me then. The kind that gets men dead and sometimes gets them home. The kind we sell to young soldiers like it is honor and not a roll of dice. "We're not staying in here until dawn," I said. "We'll rot like the wood." "Dawn helps," Jackson said. He said it like he heard himself try to build a bridge across a hole and knew the boards were soft. "Dawn helps if it wants to," I said. "We need to make it want to." "How?" Martinez asked. Not to argue, but to pour water on whatever spark I had so it did not catch the wrong things. "Make it bleed. Make it mad. Make it think we're not food," I said, and I did not know where that came from. Maybe a story my uncle told drunk one Christmas. Maybe a book I pretended I read to look smart. Maybe something else, an older voice. The kind of voice the woods use when you're little and you put your hand in the stream for the first time and feel the cold reach into you. Jackson met my eyes in the dark. He nodded once. That was voting in our little democracy. Martinez pulled the leash tight and whispered in Rocco's ear, the kind of words you tell a friend before a bad thing begins. The shadow at the window lingered. It breathed. It breathed in. We took the stupid courage and gave it teeth. "On me," Jackson said, because point men say it even when there is only one door and one way to die. He slid a little door plank over with his boot and made space where the salt line was thin. He tossed a pinch fresh and the granules flashed like embers when they fell. He slung his rifle into the pocket of his shoulder and he held the barrel low, not to shoot yet, but like a man readies a stick for a dog that is not a dog. Martinez looped the leash double around his hand and let Rocco come forward one step. The dog vibrated like a tuning fork. His throat sang a sound I swear had two notes at once. He wanted to go. He wanted to go so bad it hurt to watch. He did not cross the line. I took the little iron knife in my left hand, the handle warm from Martinez's palm. It felt silly and right all at once. I drew my own bigger blade in my right. Steel is just steel if you don't believe. I believed enough to make it weigh more. "Now," Jackson said, and he kicked the plank open and the night hit us in the face. The mimic had waited right there. It lunged the way a man does when he is sure he is too fast to be hurt. Rocco launched. If that dog had wings, he would have flown. He hit the thing in the throat. He hit it with all the want he had in his chest. They went sideways into the mud. The sound the thing made was wrong. Half deer and rut, half woman screaming with a laugh left in. I will hear that on quiet mornings until I am dead and probably after. I sprang. I put the iron knife out the way you offer a crucifix to a drunk at 3 a.m., afraid more of what you are doing than of him. The knife met air and then not air. It met something that pushed back like magnet against magnet. The hair on my arm stood. The world stuttered. The knife kissed the thing's shoulder. It smoked where it touched. It left a line like a slug leaves on a tomato leaf. The thing flinched. It was the first honest thing it did all night. Jackson stepped and swung the rifle like a club. He cracked the stock along the side of its face. The gun made a hollow bark like wood hit wood in winter. The thing's head rolled too far and then snapped back like a rubber band. It smiled with blood in its mouth that was not blood but some thin clear that smelled like penny rain. It reached for me with a hand that had too many knuckles. I saw the world narrow to the space between my shoulder and its fingers. Then the dog was there again, and the hand closed on fur and the dog screamed, and I put the iron where I thought a wrist should live, and the thing let go. We fought like men without a planned fight, which is to say, badly and with all our hearts. We did not stand in a line. We did not call shots. We did not win. We made it feel something. That was our whole tactic. Make it feel something that is not hunger. It learned fast. It moved like we moved. It twisted like we twist. It used a tree trunk the way a boxer uses a ring rope to change angle. It made purchase in mud where my boot slid. It did not make sound when it landed. That broke me a little. "Back!" Jackson yelled. and we did not argue. We fell to the line of salt like it was made of steel and not grocery. The mimic hit the threshold and the air pushed back at it again. It hissed at the burn. It put one hand against nothing and nothing held. It pressed. The particles of salt lifted in the air like snow. Some burned out blue. I have no science for that. I grabbed for the radio and keyed it and screamed wordless into it, because part of me wanted to fill the air with my own noise so it could not fit any more of it in. The radio ate my shout and spat it back thin and late, and then it spat it back again late and thinner, and then it used it to laugh with my lungs. Names, it said in a voice that was a choir of us and none of us. Tell me names. Not happening, Martinez said through his teeth. He took the salt pouch and shook it empty across the door like a man paints his last stroke. The mimic changed then. It stood, slow, tall. It let the white in its eyes flood so wide the night backed up a step. It raised hands like a singer does before a note. The shadows of it did strange things. It had more than one. Some lagged like bad footage. Some went the wrong way. One stayed still, and that was the worst. It spoke in a voice from way down in the earth, not words. Vibration. The cabin wood answered. The nails in the walls hummed. The iron knife in my hand hurt and wanted to fall, and I gripped it harder, and the pain got clean instead of dirty. Listen, Jackson said. I only half did. I heard something under the thing's sound, a small shape in the noise, like a rhythm with more in it, like the way a mother rocks a baby without telling her body to. It wanted to be lullaby. It wanted to put us to sleep. It wanted to call us into the trees where our bodies would be small and our names big, and it could eat names like fruit. Don't, Jackson said again, and that one word was a rope. We moved together like men who had practiced and never practiced this. Jackson's shoulder checked the frame. The old cabin groaned. A plank shifted. I saw a gap near the hinge where the salt had scattered thin, and my stupid courage did a really stupid thing. I stepped and jammed the iron knife into the crack hard enough to drive splinters under my nails and reopen that first line of smoke across the thing's skin. It hissed and drew back enough for Rocco to leap and snap and catch a mouthful of air, and maybe the edge of something that mattered. The dog shook his head like a shark. The thing lost that smile again. It looked confused. That felt like victory and not enough. We did not kill it. I do not think killing it is for us. We made it fail. We made it rethink. That is what predators do with prey that fights back. They do the math again. The math got interesting. The white in its eyes dimmed a breath. The child crying returned, far away, pathetic, sad enough to break anyone who was not already broken. It took a step back into the fog. It did not turn. It did not need to know where its feet were going. It knew this ground better than we ever would. Stay, I said to my legs. And my legs stayed because fear had found a purpose, and that purpose looked like this small, dumb house. The mimic tilted its head one last time. It mouthed something, maybe my name, maybe the sound the stream makes. Then it was not there. Then it was there far left. Then it was not there again. Then it was behind us saying my words into the radio with a lilt I did not own. We closed the plank. We stood and listened. Our breathing filled the room. After a while, the woods put its noise back on one small piece at a time, a single cricket. One owl half a ridge away deciding to do his job again. Water dripping again in a sequence that did not try to hypnotize. Dawn did not come like a curtain rising. It seeped, a little less black in the black, then a little gray. Then the fog got that color of tin. We did not relax. We did not do anything but watch the door and count. When the first bird made the first small arrogant trill, I felt a little of the weight roll off my ribs. Out, Jackson said, and his voice had sand in it. We left with the door open, eyes working like 10 men each. Crossed the threshold slow. Didn't kick the salt, didn't thank the cabin. Felt too close to prayer. The woods held steady. Not friendly, not hostile, just watching. Pressure eased a notch, but not gone. We moved uphill toward the trucks. We were done with the loop. Map could rot. Only thing we logged was still breathing. Halfway to the saddle, the radio clicked once. No words. Just enough to remind us it was there. I wanted to smash it. Didn't. Wanted to shut it off. Didn't. Just carried the weight of it. At the saddle, I looked back. Fog shifted like something under a sheet. Wide eyes floated up, then sank. Blinked slow, then nothing. Rocco kept checking his back trail. Calm, professional. Not scared, just aware. I learned more from that dog than any manual. We made the ridge top. Old road carried us out. Air still smelled like pine and smoke and copper. Faded some. Never left. At the trucks, the world looked small again. Coffee cups, crumpled maps, mud on tires. Top stood waiting. Looked at us, saw enough, didn't push. Anything to report, he asked. Interference on the net, I said. Trespassers, maybe. Tracks. We stayed cautious. Top held my eyes, then nodded. Copy. Day shift will go check. Recommend you don't, Jackson said. Quiet, steady. Top waited, looked at Martinez, saw the salt pouch in his hand, the knife in his pocket. He let it go. I'll put a pin in it. Go breathe. We sat on the tailgate, said nothing. Fog thinned a little. Rocco laid his head on my knee and exhaled like he'd carried us all night. I scratched his ears until my hands quit shaking. I keyed the radio. Silence. Then, a minute later, my own voice whispered back, checkpoint clear. Volume down didn't stop it. Whispered anyway. We logged what we could. The rest stayed ours. Lieutenant came around with clean boots, asked questions. We gave him the easy version, nothing else. Some things you don't hand over for laughs. We slept later. Not right away. Can't after the woods try on your face. I closed my eyes, heard my sister's voice from the fog, woke with a knife in my hand. Alive but wired wrong. A week later, day shift went up. Came back early. One private had scratches like he wrestled thorns. Said he fell, wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't press. Years passed. I got out. Worked normal now. I don't walk woods at night, don't need to. Sometimes echoes in parking garages, or copper in the air when trains break, bring it back. I keep salt handy. No one asks why. I ran into Jackson once. Gas station. He showed me Rocco's picture. Dog lived long, died easy. Good boy. That was enough. Here's the advice. Don't walk Witchback at night. Don't answer voices that aren't where they should be. Carry salt, carry iron. Never give your name away. That's all you own. On the way out that morning, right before the trucks, the woods whispered behind us, checkpoint clear. Just practicing, we didn't turn. We walked faster, left our voices out there where they belonged. Never went back, never will. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.